Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. And a very, very good Friday morning. I would like to share my knowledge with you guys. And hopefully everybody is doing fine this morning on fire extinguisher. Why is it important to extinguish the fire? Probably we would like to just go through some of the topics that I'm going to discuss with you today. We will talk about the chemistry of fire, fire triangle, or the fire tetrahedron, firefighting extinguishing strategy, extinguisher types and application, location and markings, inspections and maintenance, and when and how to use the fire extinguishers. Hope everybody is doing fine this morning, because we need to extinguish the fire. Pay close attention. Okay guys, let us talk about the chemistry of fire. Basically, a fire will only start, okay? By definition, a fire is a process of rapid chemical reaction, oxidation, in the combination of fuel, oxygen, and heat, which is accompanied by the production of heat, light, and byproducts. The fire triangle consists of the heat, that is the energy source of ignition or maintained combustion. Chemical, electrical, mechanical, nuclear, and solar are some of the sources of the heat. Source of ignition may come from also open flame, friction, electrical sparks, electrical current, spontaneous combustion, lightning, and sometimes static electricity too. The second part of the fire triangle is the oxygen. Well, everybody knows that we have 21% oxygen in air, and it only takes a minimum of 16% of mixtures to ignite, depending on the substance of the combination. Thirdly is the fuel: solid, liquid, and gaseous. Most of the fuel will change its states from solid to basically gas. What we need to understand is the solid composition of the fuel from wood, are all the hard stuff that we see, that we deal every day, which need to be heated up and change its molecular structure to liquid, and it will only burn when it is in the state of gases. The liquid and gases are some of those that are really spontaneous in the reaction of creating the fire. Once we understand the fire triangle, we have what we call chemical chain reaction. The fire extinguishing strategy. This is very, very critical in understanding. Let us go back to the previous slide. The chemical chain reaction is something that happens spontaneous. Probably some of you guys might know about the vapor cloud explosion that instantaneously, spontaneously, the fire travels in the cloud of vapor that runs about probably 2 to 3 meters per second, that create the loud explosion. That is the fire, that is the chemical chain reaction, and this happened a lot in the oil and gas industry. In order for us to understand the fire extinguishing strategy, we need to basically understand to isolate the heat from the source. The second strategy will be isolate the oxygen, and the third strategy is isolate the fuel. If you break this fire triangle, and if you can address or if you can remove any of the element that is causing the chemical reaction, you will have a very successful extinguishing success. How to, let us move on, all right? We need to break the chain of the fire reaction. Well, the main reason for us to actually extinguish the fire is this. As you can see, we have burns. And in fact, it is not really a nice picture to show. And in my experience during my tenure, during my service, I've seen too many burn victims. And it doesn't come only from fire. It can be chemical reaction, it can be abrasion, it can be so many other things that create that heat that burn the skin. And hopefully, with this lesson, you guys will have some idea that it's significant, the importance of extinguishing the fire. And the best friend that we have with us in a fire incident is the fire extinguishers. And that's the reason why today we are going to talk about fire extinguisher. And if you look at the burn, I would like to just emphasize that this is a very, 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 very painful experience. A burn victim, you don't want to be burned, that's all, okay? The legal requirement, portable fire extinguisher is a bylaw. These are some of the things, these are some of the legal requirements that the Malaysian government, our government, has already imposed to all owners of the building, even at home. Even at home, we are supposed to have fire extinguishers. Anyway, I will be sharing with you a very detailed slide probably later on, not in this slide presentation, and you can have that presentation as some guideline for your fire extinguishers notes. Let us talk about the extinguisher types and application. First of all, we need to know the classification of the fires, okay? Class A, fires involved in ordinary combustible materials such as wood, paper, and fabric. Class B, fires involved in flammable liquid and gases such as greases, gasoline, LPG, diesel. Class C, fires involved in live electrical equipment or in material near electrically powered equipment and appliances. Class D, fire involving combustible metal such as magnesium, sodium, and extra, and others. Okay. Combinations such as A, B, C, or BC is a normal practice when we purchase fire extinguishers. Basically, what the fire extinguisher indicate, let's say we have A, B, C type. I think most of the buildings have the A, B, C type, meaning that the A, B, C fire extinguishers are ready to be used for Class A, Class B, and Class C fires. Okay, but do not use ABC dry powder fire extinguishers on Class D. It may cause some other chemical reaction. I'm sure in UPM, in all the labs, there are appropriate fire extinguishers installed in every probably lab or building or any specific areas. This is the table for just a guide. The best equipment used for extinguishing early stage of fire, small and controlled, block, close. Incipient stage fire is the most important stage where we should address and control the fire. Incipient stage fire is basically the fire that just started, a small fire, and fire extinguishers are the best medium for us to really control the fire extinguisher, the fire, I mean. Also, we need to understand that in a close proximity or in a room, fire extinguishers will do their job very well. But again, it is imperative that the people that are going to use the fire extinguisher needed to be trained and well versed with using the fire extinguishers. Location and markings. This is very, very significant. During an emergency, we must not be in a situation where we need to find where the fire extinguishers are. That is the reason why location and markings are the primary requirement for us to set up in all facilities. It should be conspicuously and clearly visible. It should be conspicuous and clearly visible. The moment you walk down any corridor or any building, the marking for fire extinguisher has to be very, very visible. Emergency does not wait for you to think and ask where are the extinguishers located. And fire extinguishers should be readily accessible for immediate use. It has to be in a state where it is ready to be used. Sometimes, in my experience, I found that fire extinguishers have not been maintained or properly located, and during an emergency, it is quite, troublesome. We need to address the incipient stage, the small fire first. If we have the access to the fire extinguishers, we will be able to address the small fire. The incipient stage is a very, very significant stage for us to address before the fire breaks out. The other thing about the location and marking of the fire extinguisher, it should be located along normal path of travel or exit. Fire extinguisher should be located at corridors, like a walkway, accessible. I don't mean, it should be located in the field, because there is nothing to be burned in the field. But basically, it should be located around the walkway, along the path of any building that is close by, and easily accessible for people to get it. It should not be blocked. Do not hide your fire extinguisher behind doors or cupboards, just to avoid bad views. It should be easily accessible, can be seen, and don't block the fire extinguisher, please. We have bad experience where we couldn't find the fire extinguisher because it is located under the table. We are doing some function, we put the fire extinguishers under the table just to hide it. No, it is a very, very precious, good-looking stuff. You can display it, even at your weddings. Anyway, all right. The next thing is it has to be kept in designated location when not being used. What we are trying to say here is the location for fire extinguishers that we are not using, it should be it should be located very specific, because we know that the fire extinguisher may be out of service, or maybe we need to maintain the fire extinguishers. And please do not mix with the regular fire extinguishers, because during emergency you won't have time to check whether the fire extinguishers are ready or not. Please ensure that the maintenance or the used fire extinguishers are placed in a very, very dedicated place. Do not mix with the readily serviceable fire extinguishers. And the other thing that we need to understand is also the classification and markings located on the front of the shell of the fire extinguisher. Later on, our colleague from Unit Bantu Mola or the firefighters will share some practical experience. They will show you the real stuff, fire extinguishers, the coding, the colors, and the hoses, and the whole 9 yards of the fire extinguishers. That would be very interesting to pay close attention to it, all right? Classification and marking is very important, because you shall not put fire extinguishers that are not related to the fire hazard that are being exposed. You do not put ABC dry powder in a chemical, in a metal hazard or radiation kind of exposure. And you have to really identify what are the real hazards, especially in the labs. The lab, it is very important for you to identify the hazard, so that you should put the right fire extinguishers in the location. The last thing but not least, marking must be legible from a distance of 1 meter. Yeah, I would agree to a distance of minimum 1 meter, but make it significant. If you know, I would like to suggest that the fire extinguisher's location, it has to be something significant, just like looking at beautiful ladies. You have to have that attraction of the fire extinguisher, but don't get attracted to the fire extinguisher, because during an emergency, the only thing that will trigger in your mind as an emergency responder is the fire extinguisher. It has to be significantly and imperatively well marked, so that everything will be legible and easily accessible. Inspection and maintenance is very, very, very significant and important for us to maintain and inspect regularly our fire extinguishers, especially those that are exposed to the environment. We have to firstly ensure seals are not tampered. Later on, our firefighters will share with you the actual, what do you call the seal and all the parts of the fire extinguisher. All right. You have to ensure that the seals are not tampered. The reason for inspection and maintenance is to ensure that during an emergency, we don't have to do this. Don't do this. Don't inspect and maintain your fire extinguisher during the emergency. Do it on a routine basis. Make sure that it is being inspected and maintained. You need the fire extinguisher when you really need it, and do it not during the emergency. Do it regularly on a very, very routine. You have to have your maintenance schedule. Ensure the seal are not tampered. The second thing is valid inspection tag or approved sticker. Usually, we have a valid sticker stick on the fire extinguisher that it has been inspected. When was it last inspected, and so on and so forth. Make sure that pressure gauge indicator should stay in the green region. Yeah, this is very, very significant to ensure that the pressure in the fire extinguisher is okay. If you don't have the indicator on the green, take it out of service, because it may lead to false sense of safety. You will not be able to use the fire extinguisher if the indicator is not in the green region. Ensure no damaged part. This is very, very significant, especially if you look at the hoses and, of course, the discharge mechanism of the fire extinguisher. You have to ensure that the levers are all in good order, and the hoses are not damaged or cracked, and so on and so forth. You have to also ensure no rust or corrosion, especially at the valve and the base of the fire extinguisher. This is again a very significant point, merely because it might cause other accident while using it. Rust can disengage the valve during the activation of the fire extinguisher, because the moment you press the lever, it's going to deliver to about 170 psi pressure. And if the position, if there are corrosion or rust around the valve, it might trigger the valve to shoot out. And last but not least, only trained and certified personnel may repair or fill fire extinguishers. This is done basically by contractors or the appointed contractors that your faculty or your department engage. When and how to use fire extinguishers. Okay. The most important thing that we need to understand is the incipient stage or small fire stage, fire that does not pose personal hazard. Please, this is very, very important. If you see a fire, most people get excited and they are not trained to use the fire extinguisher. They could probably do greater damage rather than extinguish the fire. The most important thing is for you to understand your personal safety. It is very important that if you feel that you can handle the fire, if it is small, because by definition of small is so subjective that people that are trained, firefighters that are trained, a real big fire they consider small. But for us, normal people who doesn't really see fires, small fire like the stove, oven, or cooking gas fire is actually small, but that is in a controlled condition. In a real fire incident, it is going to give you a different set of feelings, and it is quite difficult to explain. But small fire means if you think you can handle it with a fire extinguisher, and if you are a trained fire extinguisher guy, then you can proceed to extinguish the fire. If you are not trained, please do not take any chance to try to extinguish the fire. Get help. Call for help. Call for help. It is better not to risk your life. Life safety is very, very important. Again, I would like to emphasize this. Please, if you are not trained, do not try to use the fire extinguisher. Again, Actually, using the fire extinguisher is very, very simple. They call it the PASS system, P-A-S-S. Well, PASS P, the first P is pull the pin. You have to twist and pull. The second, the A is aim. Hang on a second, let me see. From previous experience, we have a comment here. From previous experiences, I found that we need practice many times to use fire extinguisher. We will panic when the real fire happens. Christine Yap, thank you very much. There, you are exactly right. I spend thousands of hours and I'm still scared. I'm no kidding. This is true. This is true. And but if we have a team that regularly talk about it, regularly practice, I think we should be able to bring our what do you call skills up, or confident, or we should be more relaxed. Because in a real situation, people panic, chaos, yeah, and that is probably that cause us to panic, even if you are an expert. Thank you, Christine. Yeah, good, very good feedback here. All right. Okay, let's get back to the PASS system, okay? All right, the incipient stage, the PASS system. Pull the pin. A is aim at the base of the fire. S, you squeeze the actuating handle. And the last S is sweep from side to side. Easier said than done. Okay, the fire extinguisher is probably 3 to 4 kg. Well, a big guy like Arnold Schwarzenegger or a bodybuilder, not a problem for them to carry. But we may have small people, little people, skinny people, and it's very difficult to carry. I've been through all this, and I've seen so many people handle it the wrong way, and it may cause accident, and we wouldn't like that to happen. But again and again, my emphasis is train and train and train. Get your people, get our people, get our team. We will do the training together, okay? It's not just theory. We want you to walk the talk. We want you to go down to the ground, okay? We want you to have the real experience, the touch. It's easy. Fire extinguishers training take less than 5 minutes, but the knowledge will last you a lifetime, and you will enjoy it. All right, Class C fire. Class C fire, we are talking about electrical fire. Electrical fire is very, very unique, okay? Do not immediately just extinguish the fire on the electrical appliances. It may move from Class C to Class B or A. But the Class C fire is basically, we are worried about the electrical supply, okay? We need to firstly ensure that the electrical supply need to be cut off. We have to make sure electrical fire, the electrical supply to the equipment need to be cut off. Then only we extinguish the fire. It is very, very common nowadays, especially in offices. We have computer fire, we have photostat machine on fire. People tend to forget about switching off the electrical supply, and eventually we have electrical shock incidences that sometimes kills, okay? That sometimes kills. Ensure electrical appliances, make sure, be sure the electrical supply is being cut off, all right? And electrical shock, this is something else. Electrical shock, it doesn't really need much electricity to really kill you, because the electrical shock is so unique that it can just alter your system, your heartbeat system, and that's the reason why people just go into shock, accessories, okay? And man, well, it's very interesting to note about the electrical fire. Make sure electrical Class C fire, make sure that you had the electrical supply cut off. Then we address the fire. Never place used or empty partially extinguisher back in its location. Oh man, yeah, this is again. Never, after using the fire extinguisher, after it is not serviceable anymore, take it out of service and put it in a dedicated place where you know, where you program for it to be serviced, and also make sure that it is put out of sight. Only serviceable fire extinguishers should be in place. Here are some of the graphic that you can see, and pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. Okay, but again, you still need to be trained. Because the pressure in the fire extinguishers, it may seem to be low, but it is quite significant. 150 psi, 150 to 170 psi is very, very high as far as I'm concerned. Because you only need 3 psi to break your collarbone. And if you are not trained, and it's very, very dangerous for you to handle fire extinguishers. Again, this is by emphasis. You need to be trained on how to use the fire extinguisher safely. Again, you need to be trained on how to use the fire extinguishers safely. Yep, fire cooks, yeah? Rare, medium rare, well done. Forgive me for displaying this picture, this photo, but it is significant for us to understand why you need to be trained in fire extinguishing. Extinguishing the fire is very, very important. And training on fire extinguishers is, again, an imperative tool for you to address the incipient stage. If we can address the incipient stage of the fire, we can avoid a major disaster. And, well, fire cooks. Probably in the future, we can really have a face-to-face practical training so that you can touch the real physical fire extinguisher and play around with it. This is a CO2 fire extinguisher, very small. All right, it's about what, 2 kg, 2 to 5 kg. And this is basically placed in confined space, confined area. Wow, we have another big guy from Unit Bantu Mula. All right, and please, I would like to have the people listening to understand that I want everybody to make sure that you know these guys. These are the people, these are the first line of responder, and we need them in the emergency. And please make sure that you know these people, okay? All right, probably we can show for the carbon dioxide, okay? The gas, it's easy to use, okay? You have the lever, and then you have the pin, and then you have the nozzle. That's the nozzle. Okay, how to use it? Very simple. Okay, first thing, all right, slowly. Okay, see, you have to twist. Okay, the pin, so that you can break the seal, all right? And then pull the pin out, all right? And then make sure you aim the nozzle at the area that is on fire and hold it tight, okay? And then only you can, you want to spray or what? No, hang on a second. All right, maybe, all right, that's it. Carbon dioxide, okay, it's gas. It's basically to remove the oxygen in the area where it is being affected. This is basically used in electrical fire and water-based. And, oh, man, there's a lot of stuff that I want to say, but it's okay. That is one of the CO2. And the other one is still CO2. No. That is also CO2. It's very small, and it is usually placed, especially in the lab. In the lab, there are a lot of CO2. All right. Now, yeah, we need. Yeah, that's the reason why you can see we have two guys. One is for the small one. One is for the big one. The big one is for the big guy. Okay. All right. Yeah, we cannot have the small guy to carry the big one. All right. Anyway, this is the ABC dry powder. It is what, 5 kg, 4 kg, 5 to 7 kg. The holder is 10 times more than weight, more than the weight. Okay, all right. That is the nozzle. All right. The most important thing for you to check is number one, the gauge. The gauge. That's right. That's the gauge. Make sure the indicator is in the green region. Is it in the green region? Yes. All right. That's cool. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. And then you check the nozzle, whether it has crack or is it okay. All right. That's how you run the nozzle. All right. Then check the lever and also the valve. No rust, okay, tak berkarat, okay, and the lever is still okay, it's not spoiled, okay. Then it is ready to use. Okay, the first thing you do is again, pusing sebelah sini. All right, okay. All right, you twist and break the seal. All right, and yeah, pull out the seal. And pull out the pin. Yeah, it is ready to use. But do not press it. Okay? Yeah, the pressure is about 150 to 170 psi. And make sure when you want to use, you hold the, all right, if you are holding it, your left hand, your right hand, hold it close towards the end of the hose, okay? And make sure, if you're holding with your left hand, the position of the cylinder has to be on the left side. Do not hold the left hand and put the cylinder on the left side. Oh, it happens, okay? And of course, these people will laugh over it. Anyway, all right. Make sure you hold this very tightly. And the moment you start depressing the lever, it's going to go up. 150 to 170 psi pressure is high. It's very, very high. Do not put your hand behind lower blackout screen. All right. Okay, because it's going to move. And at 150, 170 psi, it can break your humerus. Okay. Or if it touches some other area, well, God bless you. Anyway. All right. And please, when we do the training, these are the people that will assist us. These are our heroes, and we don't want to test that. Okay, no, we're not going to show it practical. Yeah, I have a lot of people watching and looking at me, giving me some weird look. Anyway, I hope you guys have some basic idea. I know most of our audience here have some experience in handling fire extinguishers. And hopefully one of these days, we'll have our brothers here from Unit Bantu Mula, firefighters. We'll do some practical training with you guys. And thank you very much my dear brothers. Thank you very much. All right, these are all my heroes. Please take note. These are all my heroes. Okay. Thank you very much.